Hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And we are joining Karl Dunn on his book tour. And you are in New York, I think, right now, correct?
I am. That's right. Yes, yes. We just did an event here at Shakespeare and Co.
Oh, fantastic. I have through social media, I was able to see some of your posts, including your book tour. And you've got an ambitious book tour here for Pride Month coming along
Yes.
tomorrow. But you're going to be all over the East Coast, West Coast, and points in between.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. on the 6th at Little District Books, and then in Seattle at Charlie's Queer Books in Fremont. And actually, Dan Savage is going to be my conversation partner there,
Oh,
which will
wow.
be very exciting. We only have 45 seats, so I'm expecting that one might just, like go.
Oh, man, I'm jealous.
Yeah,
Don't get nervous now.
he was really like honestly he was so kind to offer. He saw something that I'd written, and we got like I hit him up on Instagram, and
Yeah,
anyway he wrote
yeah.
back and liked the work, and so here we are. So that's
Oh.
great. And then in San Francisco, we're going to be at Book Passage on the 22nd, and then LA, my old hometown, where this book, where How to Burn a Rainbow all began. Going to be there on the 28th.
And so what's interesting though is that, by the title, How to Burn a Rainbow. And so I think it's probably a shocker because I think you are probably the first that's written a book about gay divorce
Yeah.
and all the baggage that comes along with the D word. But it's not really quite that way, is it? And so yeah, tell us a little bit about kind of, how that's come together.
Well, I mean, I started writing, I wrote the book because when I started getting divorced from my ex-husband, I went looking for a book on gay divorce and I couldn't
Yeah.
find one. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I was keeping this video diary for myself of these revelations I was having. And I showed some to a friend of mine, Brian, who's from Oklahoma. And he's like, y'all need to put this in a book, Queen, and so here we are. But it took 6 years to write it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, when I lived in LA before, I was a screenwriter. And, you always begin writing a screenplay by, the start, the ending, and you're just trying to figure out how to get there. But with this book, I started writing it and I'm in the middle. I'm like, I had literally no idea how this book ends
Yeah.
or how
Yeah.
this journey ends. But, the story of the divorce itself is wild. The things that I discovered about getting divorced. It was a steep learning curve in the laws and California divorce law and how it's all written for the battle of the sexes as they stood at this end of the 80s, start of the 90s. And I have no disrespect to any divorcing heterosexuals who might be listening, but that whole thing has nothing to do with us. Like no woman was harmed in my marriage or my divorce, except my mother. She had a lot of sleepless nights. But yeah, it was very interesting to encounter all of that and be on the wrong side of it, be
Yeah.
in the position traditionally, I hate to say this, but for all the wrong reasons, the man,
Yeah.
because women
Yeah.
are not given all the same opportunities and not paid the same and expected to give their careers up. But yeah, it was very interesting to find I was on the wrong side of that. And it gave me a lot more empathy for what heterosexual men go through.
Yeah.
But I went from this high-flying advertising career to a few months later, I was sleeping on an air mattress in a former squat in Berlin with no
Yeah.
money left, no lawyers, no visas, no job, no electricity in the room even. And I really, it happened so quickly. It was like whiplash. And I thought, wow, is this it? Is
Yeah.
this, do I die in this room? Like it kind of feels like it. So that in itself is an incredible story of how that all happened, but it kicked off the biggest story, which is the emotional journey. I call it in the book, I call it my crisis of identity,
Yeah.
of just basically trying to figure out who I am. And that's what I think is the more interesting story and the one that's really connecting with lots of people.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it. I think at first blush, people would just think, it's a guide to how to get divorced in the LGBT world. But
Yeah,
no, it's not. It's really a journey and
yeah.
your journey. And what I really love is that if one of your prequel, not prequel, one of your things there is you say it's a gay version of Eat, Pray, Love.
Yes, yes. And a couple of people have had a go at me about that,
Yeah.
But in my defense, I've met Elizabeth Gilbert and I've given her a copy of the book, and she was very, very fine with me doing that. She was
Yeah.
actually very, like, she's incredibly cool. Like, when you meet her in person, she's exactly what you think she's going to be.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, it was like meeting one of my heroes. Well, it wasn't like meeting one of my heroes, it was meeting one of my heroes. She's like, I consider her my sort of astral writing mother. I'm very fond of her style of writing and the career that she's made. And yeah, she was just great, super supportive of it, congratulated me for putting something like this out in the world. So yeah, so it's like a Gay You Pray Love, and it's very much a similar sort of journey
Yeah.
where I came to Berlin, which has always been my second home. I have a long history with the city and I've worked there a lot. And it just was the only place I could think of going. And Berlin gave me the space and the time to really figure out what happened.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
did I date the same person 5 times in a row, marry the last one? All my relationships have ended the same way. And I kept choosing these people. I mean, it's not really their fault. I picked them out,
Yeah.
picked them
Yeah.
out of a lineup.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to get to the bottom of why am I doing this? And why am I repeating all these other kinds of patterns in my
Yeah.
life?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really what the book became about. And the subtitle of it is my marriage didn't make me whole, my divorce did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's really the biggest story, I think, of the book.
Yeah. No, that's, and it's even for myself personally. I mean, when I see something like this, it does strike something from within because I was
Yeah.
with my first partner for almost 20 years, and I
Wow.
will say that yeah, even today he's my best friend, and we're actually still business
Mm.
partners, and we just for some folks we just say it was a very modern but I never used the word divorce, so it was a modern
Mm.
separation. But we were together almost 20 years, but before marriage was legal, so we
Yeah.
were able to just make up our own rules for how we did everything. And
Mm.
we were very fortunate that it was very extremely amicable and so
Mm.
forth. But the key is that I don't think the two of us have ever actually used the word divorce, and that's interesting to me
Mm.
because it does carry baggage with it, and I get that. But I also know the difference between what it felt like for those first 20 years not being able to be officially married and then also being able to be
Yeah.
legally married. And there's a big difference in a lot of this, and so I think it's something that a lot of people are kind of muddling their way through with right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the position I landed on in the book, because a lot of people have asked me, would I ever get married again, or what's my position on marriage? And like, I'm not for marriage, I'm not against marriage, but I am very much pro-choice. I'm very pro anybody's informed choice on whether marriage is right for them. And when I say that, I mean having done all the research themselves to discover what it is to be married, what it is to get out of a marriage, and also why you're doing it. I think
Yeah.
that is a
Mm.
huge part of it. In How to Burn a Rainbow, I write about the top 5 reasons why I got married, and none of them are good. None of them are good. And like, if I'm really honest about why I did it, they're not great reasons. And so
Yeah.
I I don't think I would ever get married again, but if I did, it certainly wouldn't be for the reasons I did it last time. And I think that's a something that, when a lot of people, myself included, we fought for the right to have it, but it was fueled by the reaction to the fact that they said we can't.
Mm.
So the battle is all about against these people who've put this behind barbed wire. Well, we'll show you, we'll get it. But the focus goes on the barbed wire, not on what the thing is that's behind it. Because I don't think we asked enough questions about, well, hang on, what is this exactly? And
Yeah.
why are
Yeah.
we chasing this?
Yeah.
And is it necessarily right for all of us? But, I fought very hard for it. And then when we got it, I kind of felt like, well, I feel like I should do this for the cause, and it's not. It's
Yeah.
not a good reason to get married. Yeah. So no, I think it's right for some people. It's not right for other people. But just do the research. Ask yourself the question for yourself only. Ask your partner as well, and make sure you're just doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But without all that baggage, you had a hard time getting publishers, taking it to publishers. They didn't want to touch it, and you had to actually self-finance and self-publish yourself.
Yeah, I did. I did, and it was a lot of work. I mean, honestly, anyone who's a new writer and a first-time writer will spend years writing into the abyss
Yeah.
of publishing houses and agents. It is, they have so many submissions thrown in their direction. There is so much stuff to go through for them to evaluate what's going to be a book that sells and isn't. So I have some empathy for it. I get it. However, I had a very interesting conversation with an agent, and she read my book and she said,
Yeah.
look, it's excellent. I think it's a fantastic book. You've got a great voice on the page. I'm actually shocked it's your first book. But what she went on to explain is that she wasn't going to represent me, and that anyone who would is probably not very good at their job. And she explained it by saying that divorce, LGBTQ plus, and memoirs by people who aren't famous are the three hardest genres to sell. And
No.
she's like, you've combined all three in one book. And she did say, I hope you prove me wrong. I really do.
Yeah.
But, they make the houses and the agents make their money on book sales. And if they look at a
Yeah.
book like mine, according to their popular wisdom, it's
Yeah.
not going to sell. So her advice was self-publish, get a publicist, which I did. But what I'm really proud of is that the book is doing everything that I said to them it would do, which is it's a story about a human being who went through a human experience,
Yeah.
and that's what the book speaks to. It speaks to that all of us we're all going through it right now, whatever it is, in whatever shape or form that's taking. Mine was a divorce as a gay man, but it could be a multitude of other reasons. But
Mm.
the readers of it, who are living all these different life situations, nothing to do with mine, are seeing themselves in the book. They're finding themselves in the pages. And I was like, yeah, because I think there's a tendency to brand work by LGBTQ plus authors as gay this or LGBTQ plus that, as opposed to just being, no, it's just a book.
Yeah.
It's not, it's like I've worked in advertising for years. The minute we can't do anything for Pride, it's the gay ads. It's like,
Yeah.
actually, in my community, we would just call those ads.
Yes,
But you know what I mean? So
I
it,
do. I
it's
do.
it's been interesting that I think it's going to be one of those slow burn books where my impression so far of people's reactions is that they're passing it to friends and saying, it's about gay divorce, but don't be fooled.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
there's something in this for you. So I'm gonna have to just trust the readers on
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Well,
to
that's it. Those readers, we were even talking before the interview, and those readers are giving you some really positive feedback.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the book covers a real gamut of stuff. I actually say in the introduction to How to Burn a Rainbow, I say about, I'm not really sure what genre this book is. Yes, it's a memoir, but it's also a spiritual journey. It's self-help. It's a how-to guide of get divorced. It's essay analysis, pop culture references. Like it's a real mixed bag.
Yeah.
I mean, it all makes sense to me, and it seems to make sense to the readers, but it's a lot of different stuff. Um, but some of the things that I cover in it, in the emotional states that I went through, where there was rage, sadness, loss, suicidality, people who have encountered these things in their lives, because are writing to me and saying, you really helped me understand where my friend's head might have been at before they killed themselves. I couldn't understand why they did it, but after reading your book, I get it now. And I've had heterosexual divorced women write to me and say, I finished your book, and actually I've got a little bit more empathy for my ex-husband and where he might have been at, And it's very funny, like she can hear it from me, she can't
Yeah.
hear it
Yeah.
from, a
Yeah.
straight guy.
Yeah.
So it's doing lots of really profoundly interesting. And I would say maybe the greatest compliment I received on the book is from a heterosexual guy who's married, raised two adult children out of the house, very happily married.
Yeah.
And he said at the end of the book, he obviously knew me a lot better. He was expecting that. It's a memoir. But he said what surprised him was that he knew himself better, he knew his wife better, and he understood their relationship and their marriage in a way that he never had before. He
Yeah.
said, that I was not expecting. And I think that's the highest praise you can get as a writer, that your work is touching people everywhere and
Yeah.
helping
Yeah.
them.
It shows
Mm.
that you created a very much just a human story, not necessarily
Exactly.
LGBT. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest battles I've been fighting with the book, or is is going up against this perception that it's a gay book. It's a
Mm.
gay literature, it's a gay divorce. And it's like, no, it's about humans. Like
Yeah.
we're all,
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, this book shows we're just as bad at marriage as everyone else.
I think everybody figured that out when they watched Will and Grace in the 90s. And then all of our folks in our parents' generation said, oh my God, you guys are just as dysfunctional and boring and normal as the rest of us.
Yes, 100%. Yes, the alleged gay agenda is basically get
Yeah.
to work on time, Try not to drink too much coffee. Maybe get to the gym. I mean, this is the gay agenda. Maybe a cocktail at the end of the week, maybe.
If they only knew. So
Yeah,
I,
exactly. All
I
right.
think this is fantastic. And I'm going to make sure there's links to, your social and
Thank
your
you.
website and how to purchase the book. But mostly I'm just really glad that you were able to take a few moments of your time and kind of share a bit of your
Oh,
story and this book story with our audience.
my pleasure, Matt. Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it, mate.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
All right, cheers, mate.
So good, coming back again.